Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. Here's your host, Morgan Colby and Rick Lemon.
Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. It's Tuesday, August 20th, 2019. My name is Morgan Colby. I got Rick Lemon right across from me.
What's going on?
Per usual, per normal. 16 days. 16 days.
Oh, boy.
Do you want to know what that's for? The 16 days, the countdown? I'll probably continue doing it.
Your birthday?
Nope. Try again.
Dang it. I never know where your birthday is.
Try again.
Man, I just don't know. When is...
It started the NFL season.
Oh!
16 days, people, until Thursday Night Football. Bears, Packers, NFL Season 100, NFL Season 100, NFL Season 100. For SEO purposes. I'll put it somewhere in the description.
The 100 emoji?
Yeah, just the 100 emoji. Today, we are going to bring you our top 5 mid-round targets for 2019. Last show, we did our late-round targets. So we're going to go backwards and do our mid-round targets. These are guys that you should be targeting in the middle of your draft. I want to let you know before we get into that I did have 21 guys written down. Yes, I did have 21 guys written down, and we had we had to narrow our list significantly. But we'll talk about that in a second. Before we get into the news, check out our brand spanking new website with a bunch of new content at thefantasychampions.com. Be sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at the FF Champs on Twitter, at the Fantasy Champions on Instagram. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/thefantasychampions. Subscribe wherever you listen, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube, all that good stuff. Make sure you leave a review, comment wherever you're listening, all that good stuff. Engage. We like engagement. Ask us questions because we will answer them. Share this podcast with your friends. Let's move into the news. We're going to start off with the news.
Okay.
And then we're going to quickly move into a rapid segment.
Oh, boy.
About preseason. So we'll just go through it one at a time and move really fast. So I want to start off with the Antonio Brown drama.
Oh, boy.
I talked about this last week, so I won't give the other details to the situation. If you are up to date with the NFL, you know exactly what happened. And if you're up to date with our podcast, you heard it last Tuesday. More has happened. So he returned to practice last Tuesday from the whole helmet situation and all the stuff that had happened. He tweeted he wanted a specific helmet, which I believe we talked about. Mm-hmm. He wanted a Shroot Air Advantage or something like that. They found one. 2014, within the deadline. They thought it was good. So he got that helmet from the person. He reviewed it, and it failed. The NFL failed it. I'm like, that's a big D move right there. By the NFL, they're like, no, not today. Yeah. I was like, stop. Brown left Sunday's practice early because he was pissed off finding out that they had not approved his helmet. And now he's essentially appealing the ruling by the NFL, saying that it was bias. What I've heard is that Antonio Brown can sue the NFL and get an injunction similar to how Tom Brady got an injunction.
That would be one of the dumbest.
Oh, it would seriously be. The only reason why he would do it is because he would get an injunction that would allow him to play with his helmet.
Right.
For whatever.
So why can't they just give him a waiver and say, you can wear whatever helmet you want?
Because the NFL is moronic. I'm not defending Antonio Brown. He's being a complete idiot.
Oh, Antonio. How does it feel to be a Raiders fan right now?
Yeah, I'm scared. If you're a Raiders fan, you should be absolutely
2 months ago, you're
terrified.
We just got Antonio Brown. Let's go. And now it's like
now
the season hasn't even started yet,
true.
and it already feels like it's going down.
Since then, he has returned to practice. He came to practice today. There was a little blow up in the middle of the day. On Twitter because some NFL expert that follows the Raiders and was at practice, and after they did their stretches and their warm-ups, Antonio Brown ran into the facility without a helmet on. They put their helmets on. Somebody said, everyone put their helmets on. Antonio Brown's not on the field anymore. So that blew up. But it is confirmed by Adam Schefter and by the coach that he was there, participated with the new helmet, and he said, quote, he's all in. If you are unaware of the situation that happened Sunday, when he left practice early, they asked Mike Mayock about it, and he said, "We either want you to be all in, or you be all out. but we want to know which one it is. And so he came to practice, and John Gruden used the quote, all in. So it sounds like he's here to stay, but last time I said that, this happened. So keep an eye on that. I am moving Antonio Brown down my draft boards because I don't want anything to do with this guy. Yeah, I don't want to draft him at all.
You might have to in your spot.
Yeah, I know. It's the worst. One of our leagues, I'm sitting here and I'm gonna have to draft Antonio Brown, and I'm not happy about it. In other news, Kenyon Drake was seen in a walking boot on Wednesday. He is expected to play Week 1. He has I think it's an ankle injury, so keep an eye on that as it develops. They said that Kalen Ballage, not that this was any surprise to anyone, named the third running back on the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah.
Kalen Ballage is expected to be the starter if Kenyon Drake can't go Week 1, so that also confirms that Kenyon Drake is the starter.
Right.
Don't worry about Kalen Ballage taking that job. NBC Sports, Joe Fan anticipates Chris Carson will get at least 2/3 of the workload, with Rashad Penny filling in the rest. That is a speculation. I don't usually like to put speculation in the news, but that is interesting. And what is happening in the preseason is also backing that up. They also want to get Chris Carson. I believe we talked about this last Tuesday, 50-plus catches, which is interesting. If that happens,
he's turning into a workhorse.
He's turning into a workhorse. Yeah, I think they want to go with Chris Carson. I mean, part of me is like, what a waste of a first-round pick in Rashad Penny. But at the same time, if you got an undrafted rookie a season before, does it really matter?
Yeah.
Jimmy Garoppolo, he's had a tough week.
Oh boy.
5 interceptions in Wednesday's practice.
Golly.
And then he went 1 for 6 with a pick on the first drive back from the ACL injury in a preseason game. He's had a tough couple weeks. Now, this crap happens all the time. Mm-hmm. It's magnified by preseason and training camp.
And that preseason game was on national TV.
Yes.
It was on ESPN.
So it is concerning that Jimmy Garoppolo is playing lights. Now, a lot of people have said Jimmy G sucks, he blows, he's not very good, don't draft Jimmy, all this stuff. Somebody actually, I forgot what his name is. I'm sorry, I would credit you, but I don't remember who you are. They said that Jimmy Garoppolo looks like, it was an actual take, it looks like he is uncomfortable throwing off his back leg, which is the ACL he tore. So, if that's the case and the ACL it's going to take him a little bit to get back, but from what I've heard in camp before this past week, Jimmy's been good, so I don't know what happened this particular week. I don't know if his porn star girlfriend broke up with him or something like that. I have no idea.
Yeah, I mean, the good news is...
Is there any good news for Jimmy G right now?
There is. The good news is none of this matters.
Yeah, it's true. It's training camp and preseason.
It starts to matter in Week 1.
Like, literally everything I'm going to say in this whole entire segment doesn't
preseason news.
Miami Herald reports that second-year tight end Mike Gesicki has continued to struggle in training camp. This has been a consistent theme. I really like Gesicki going into the year, but like we said, the one thing when you see positive training camp news, you have to take it with a grain of salt and be like, okay, everyone but when you see negative training camp news, it usually means it's legit and the guy's not having a good camp. So if that's the case, I would, if you liked Mike Gesicki originally, I would take a look at reconsidering that.
Right.
And I really do like him. He's a physical freak, and he can be really good. Same people with Jordan Thomas and the Houston Texans. He's having like a poor camp as well, I guess. The Charlotte Observer calls the return of Cam Newton's deep ball the biggest surprise of Panthers camp. So that means his arm's back.
Ooh, if that's true.
If you needed any confirmation.
Hey, everybody, hop on the back. We're going to the DJ Moore. Yeah, the DJ Moore Express,
you know what's
I guess.
Ridiculous?
What's up?
Is that Curtis Samuel might get, if the hype continues before the season, Curtis Samuel might jump ahead of DJ Moore. In drafts.
That'll be ridiculous.
People are so obsessed with
Curtis Samuel too.
The last 2 weeks, there have been 2 guys that have been hyped up for absolutely no reason by Twitter. Chris Godwin.
Yeah, that's a weird one.
And Curtis
Well,
Samuel.
it's not weird, but like I like Chris Godwin a lot.
As a 5th round pick? Stop.
As a 6th round pick.
Yeah, let's back the truck up on Chris Godwin, people.
He's a 4th round pick in some drafts.
People were getting really hyped
He's flying. Which makes no sense to me.
Yeah, I don't get it either. Ezekiel Elliott, according to Adam Schefter, Ezekiel Elliott currently weighs in at a low 220, which is the healthiest he's been since his rookie season. And then he's working really hard in Cabo something. He's in I don't even remember where he is. Mexico, I believe. I did want to mention that Jerry Jones, he's such a clown. Tony Pollard had a good game, and Jerry Jones came out and they asked him, what do you think of the Ezekiel Elliott situation or something like that? And he said Zeke who in response to the Tony Pollard performance. And then it got a chuckle and a laugh, and Zeke's team is pissed.
Yeah, we didn't think it was funny.
They feel disrespected. What's funny about Jerry Jones is that he's literally said things like, we don't need a running back to win a Super Bowl. You needed Emmitt Smith to win 3. And your whole offense revolves around a guy in Ezekiel Elliott, and when he's off the field, it's proven that Dak Prescott and the whole offense blows.
Well, did they have Amari Cooper win?
No, that's true. That's fair.
So,
but Tony Pollard,
it definitely makes a huge difference, though.
I think Tony Pollard is worth a look late in drafts, just in case. He's the clear cut,
especially if you draft Zeke.
Especially if you draft Zeke. If you're drafting Zeke 2, and I'm in this situation, if you draft Zeke 2, you need to make sure you have Tony Pollard.
Yep.
I've heard reports that Tony Pollard could be, if Ezekiel Elliott's holdout lasts deep into the season, he could be the James Conner of this year. That type of guy. He's talented. He's good. I think that Cowboys' offensive line is just.
It's fantastic.
It's fantastic. So you can't really go wrong with him. But if Zeke comes back, he's in good shape,
dude. You said Zeke was in Mexico?
Yeah, something like that.
I thought I saw him on Twitter on Chick-fil-A. At Chick-fil-A.
Oh,
do you see that picture?
Yeah, I did. Of course I did. That was kind of funny. The Athletics' Nate Taylor left Carlos Hyde off his latest 15-man roster. I just wanted to throw that in really fast. Not that the Athletics' Nate Taylor has anything to do with that, but I wanted to note that Carlos Hyde is now on the bubble, according to a lot of people. So we'll see if he continues.
I don't think he really fits what the Chiefs try to do.
No, he doesn't.
Anyway.
I don't think he fits anywhere anymore. ESPN's Adam Schefter reports holdout running back Melvin Gordon is prepared to sit out regular season games if he does not get a deal. We already knew that, but it's being confirmed by the man.
That's scary.
Adam Schefter. The NFL reinstated Patriots wide receiver Josh Gordon. Good for him. I put him at 39 to 40 on my rankings because we just don't know what we're going to see from him. Bill Belichick was very vague about where he was going to be.
I think that's a good spot.
30 to 39. If we find out that he's flanking N'Keal Harry with Julian Edelman in the slot, I think Josh Gordon is probably 35 to 30 on my list instead. Okay. I'll move him up. But I just don't. We don't know much about him right now.
Right.
Last season, he was. What was he? He was a low end wide receiver too.
Right. Yeah.
With Tom Brady prorated.
I'd say he's right now should be somewhere in the late fourth. I'd say as of right now.
Fourth round.
Yeah.
I would say 6th or 7th.
Really?
Yeah.
I think he's going to end up being a late
fourth or fifth. Yeah. Yeah.
I get what you're saying though. As of right now,
I don't know if I want to buy in. Like I said, do you want to invest a 4th or 5th round draft choice on a guy that could be found out that he's on the weed again?
I don't.
Yes.
Because I think he's probably, unfortunately.
But there are a lot of Josh Gordon truthers out there.
I'm just curious of where.
I don't think the ADP has changed yet.
It hasn't.
Right now, I think it's at 13th, 14th round. I could see him at 6 or 7 by the time drafts get over. I think it's too late in the game in terms of it might have an effect if people do their drafts on September 30th or September 29th or 28th.
I mean August.
But August 28th or 29th. But this weekend is the big weekend for fantasy football drafts. Yep. So if you're drafting this weekend, be sure to keep an eye on the Josh Gordon situation, what happens in practice, all that stuff. Adam Schefter also reports that Keenan Allen is dealing with an ankle injury that is expected to hold him out for the rest of the preseason, but not week 1. Don't worry about Keenan Allen. He'll be fine. I also want to note that Keenan Allen is a major buy right now. If you are in a dynasty league, go buy Keenan Allen if you're a contender. And if you're doing a draft Keenan Allen. I think it's worth it in the 3rd round now. Without Melvin Gordon, he's going to be targeted a crap ton. So
I do like Keenan Allen this year.
Yeah, but if Melvin Gordon resigns and comes back, we'll see what happens. According to Ben Volen of the Boston Globe, the Titans' starting quarterback job, quote, looks surprisingly wide open, unquote. That was an interesting little thing. So keep an eye out there. Ryan Tannehill has looked.
That's really not surprising.
In the preseason. Ryan Tannehill has looked really good in the preseason so far. So, Coach Andy Reid said 6th round running back Darwin Thompson. This goes to my news above about Carlos Hyde. Darwin Thompson is more advanced than they thought he would be when they drafted. I am not one to take a victory lap in the preseason, but Darwin Thompson is now being drafted. Did I not talk about Darwin Thompson months ago?
You did. But you also said you'd be starting.
I think I said he could. I said I didn't think it was hard to overtake Carlos Hyde and
that's true.
Damian Williams.
I think
here's what's going to happen. He'll overtake Hyde. He'll be the number 2 running back on the roster, and then in week 3, when Damian Williams re-injures his hamstring and Darwin Thompson has to get the job, he'll take it, he'll run with it, and he won't look back. Like if he goes out and he has 2 touchdowns and 100 yards. Andy Reid's like, this is our guy. We're going to move forward with him. Like, we're not going to waste our time on Damian Williams at this point.
Is he that good where he can do something like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think he's talent. The reason why he was undrafted is because he went to a small school.
Didn't he?
And he's really short.
Wasn't he drafted late? Like
6th round.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the reason why he was drafted so late is because he went to a small school and he was short. Le'Veon Bell will not play in the preseason, so that's not surprising. Dolphins coach Brian Flores said that Ryan Fitzpatrick is not a lock to start week 1. So we do have some quarterback competitions here. Interesting. Colts placed. I didn't write this on our news, but Case Keenum is projected now right now as the lead guy to get the starting quarterback role. But Dwayne Haskins has looked good in the preseason. Colts placed running back Donta Foreman on injured reserve with a torn bicep. This poor guy gets cut by the Texans and then gets injured when he gets signed by the Colts. So he's going to stay on he was only on a 1-year deal. He's going to stay on the Colts for the entire season, try to heal, and they're going to see what happens from there. They're not going to cut him. But he is going on injured reserve. ESPN's Mike, I'm not even going to try to say your last name, reports that sophomore wide receiver DJ Chark has been the most impressive receiver at Jaguars camp. So on a team, I like D.D. Westbrook, but on a team that doesn't really have a lot of wide receivers, keep an eye on DJ Chark. DJ Chark. Please don't.
It's okay.
It's so hard to say. I was going to say, please don't be a success DJ Chark because I literally can't say your name. Yahoo Sports, last piece of news that we have. Yahoo Sports, Therese Poller says that the Bears are, quote, in love with running back David Montgomery. Me too, buddy. Me too. I love you, David Montgomery.
Oh, we know.
I was talking to you before the show about how David Montgomery was playing Thursday Night Football September 5th. And then I would rip my pants off if he had a good game. I'm so on board with David Montgomery right now. I'm going to give you really quickly some preseason news. We really can't talk too much about it, but I'll go through it really fast. So Kyler Murray completed 3 of 8 passes for 12 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. He looked uncomfortable, not very good, and he looked average, which for a lot of people, if you are somebody who likes to, who wants to draft Kyler Murray, the fact that he threw 3 for 8 doesn't really affect anything in terms of why I would draft Kyler Murray, and I told you I would.
Yeah.
I think he could be a top 10 quarterback this year, just on the pure fact that he's insanely fast and can rush the football. Like, I think he's going to get 7-8. If he starts the whole season, 700-800 yards. So I wouldn't be concerned about the 3 of 8. It's preseason. Freaking relax.
Yeah.
Andy Isabella caught 1 of 4 targets in that same game for 59 yards and a touchdown. So he's looked pretty good so far in the preseason. 1 of 4 is not amazing, but it is what it is. Miles Sanders rushed 5 times for 31 yards. He was significantly better in the second preseason game against the Jaguars. He is clearly the more talented running back to Jordan Howard. It's just a matter of when he takes over that job.
Correct. Yeah.
Dwayne Haskins completed 7 of 14 passes, 114 yards, and a touchdown against the Bengals. He looked really good. I actually really like Dwayne Haskins.
Hey!
I thought he was going to be a garbage can, but we'll see what happens. I'm not going to buy into the preseason
If I'm the Redskins, I'm not starting him.
No, not yet.
Not yet. Because not only because I'm not sure if he's ready, but more importantly, the Redskins definitely aren't ready. Meaning he's going to go in and he's going to crap his pants because the whole team blows.
True.
No offense if you're a Redskins fan.
Justice Hill rushed 10 times for 49 yards and a touchdown. He's the backup running back to Mark Ingram right now in Baltimore. Mm-hmm. And if Baltimore rushes it 400-something times again this year, and Mark Ingram takes 250 of them, that leaves like 200 for Justice Hill. So that should be, obviously, I think 150 for him, and then like 50 to, I don't know. How many do you expect Lamar Jackson to take? But,
probably upwards of 50.
Yeah. Daniel, maybe even, that's probably more than that.
Yeah.
I don't even know. But Daniel Jones completed 11 of 14 passes for another really good game, 161 yards and a touchdown. So he went, what was it, 6 for 6 in his first game, now 11 for 14. He is currently freaking 17 for 20 in the preseason right now.
But
it is just preseason, but the Giants don't look that stupid yet.
No.
Did you hear what really quickly, what Baker Mayfield said about Daniel Jones?
No. What did he say?
In some kind of GQ article, they asked him about that decision for some reason. I don't know how they got to it, but the decision for the Giants to draft Daniel Jones
at like 6th overall.
Yeah, something like that. And Baker kind of he said they twisted his words, but he basically said that he was shocked and he was like, why would they do that? And that if you want to win, you have to draft a winner or something like that.
Whoa.
Yeah, and so he kind of
that does seem like it could be easy.
Yeah, so he said that he didn't say that. I didn't look too much into it because I really don't care about tabloid gossip.
Yeah.
Devin Singletary totaled 6 yards and 2 carries, adding 3 catches for 25 yards. So he looked decent in his second outing. He looked terrible in his first. Josh Rosen completed 10 of 18 passes for 102 scoreless in the Dolphins preseason game, probably why they're considering looking at that position over again. Deion Kane, what is projected to be the third wide receiver on the Indianapolis Colts. A lot of people like Deion Kane. There's been a lot of Deion Kane truthers.
Oh, boy.
He was supposed to be the 4th or 5th wide receiver and not really climb up the chart. He could be the third guy. He got 7 of 9, 80 yards, and no touchdowns.
7 of 9?
And it was 7 of 9
That's pretty
for
good.
80 yards. Damian Harris rushed 14 times for 80 yards. He looked wicked slow. I watched that whole game, and he looked like slow as molasses. He should have scored a touchdown, but he didn't because he was too darn slow to get into the end zone.
He's the next LeGarrette Blount, bro.
Yeah, it's true. Jacoby Myers, also on the Patriots, caught all 6 of his targets, 82 yards. So there were 2 guys coming out of week 1, 2 wide receivers. Preston Williams, I think, for Miami, and Jacoby Myers both had really good week 1s, and a lot of people are like, oh, well, I'm going to take a look at Preston Williams. We'll see what he does. There's not a lot of good receivers on the Miami Dolphins. He has a better chance of jumping into that spot. Jacoby Myers is probably going to be the 5th guy. Well, Preston Williams had a bad week, and Jacoby Myers continues to impress in camp and in preseason games. This is his second game with 80-plus yards. So
that's pretty good.
It's interesting. I don't see him as a fantasy option, but
no.
Keep him there. Tony Pollard started his second preseason game, rushed 5 times, 42 yards, 1 touchdown. Looked really good in that preseason game. Let's move into our top 5 mid-round targets. Finally, take a deep breath. That's like a fire hose. It's preseason, all right?
We're gonna go into the news, but don't worry, it's gonna be like 10 minutes. Like we're gonna do this real quick, 5 minutes.
25 minutes later. No. Let's get started with our top mid-round targets. We're gonna give you our top 5. This is rounds 5 through 9 in half PPR based on Sleeper's ADP.
These are key rounds because usually you'll get a good player in the first rounds, right?
Right.
Most of the time you'll get a good player in the 3rd and 4th round. But the 5th through 9th round is where a lot of mistakes are made, a.k.a. me last year taking Jimmy Graham in the 5th round was not a good call. I think I took Alshon Jeffrey in the 6th round, which ended up not being a good call either. So these middle rounds, though, can really make a big difference on your team because if you hit on those first 2 rounds and then you still hit in rounds 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, your team's going to be really good.
I think now there's a lot of people in the fantasy football community that disagree on the. I personally don't think you should draft a trade. That's not a good strategy, generally speaking.
Not in general, yeah.
Yeah, generally. But a lot of times when I draft mid-round draft picks, it's guys that I see as valuable and guys that I see, like, hopefully they break out, hopefully they play well, but They could be these are guys that I'm going to put in deals, right? Eventually, put in deals to try to get a stud, a guy that was drafted in the first 3 rounds. You might hit on somebody who turns into like a big-time first-round pick and next year at least, and turns out to be an RB1 or a wide receiver 1, or you might hit on somebody. But generally speaking, most of the time you're not, and you're going to end up with a wide receiver 2, a wide receiver 3, a running back 2, a running back 3, and those guys are perfect trade options for you. Like drafts are not the first. Like a lot of people, you're drafting this weekend, you drafted last weekend. Yep. You're sitting here thinking,
get hyped about your team.
You're getting hyped about your team, but it's not the final product.
Not even close.
95% of winning a fantasy championship is building your team through waiver wires and trades. Like unless your league does not pay attention, you're not going to end up
throughout
in a
the year
to win.
The amount of waiver wires and free agents that you pick up, depending on what you do, the amount of trades, the start-em, sit-ems that you'll be paying attention to and affecting your team week to week. Those are what's really key.
Yeah.
The draft is important, though. Don't get me wrong. But if you're really going to take that next step to being a championship-level fantasy team, it's going to be throughout the season, not during the draft day.
I heard somebody say the other day, I can't remember who it was, but somebody among the many other podcasts I listen to, they basically said that the team this is assuming you're in an active league. Like if you're on NFL.com and you're in a league that no one pays attention to, and you're just joined one like of those random ESPN or Yahoo leagues that no one, like 2 people are active on it. Those are so easy to win just because they're garbage.
It's cheating.
Yeah. So, but if you're in a highly competitive, active league where everyone's paying attention, you'll notice that the teams who draft, even if you have the perfect draft, and you have a very good draft, the teams that draft and don't make a lot of moves in terms of trades and waiver wire decisions are the ones that get bounced in the first round. Usually. And so if you're losing in the first round every year and not getting to the second round, not getting to your championship, not moving forward, consider making huge decisions, massive trades, taking risks, all of that stuff. Like the entire season is a massive. Like,
people are so afraid to take risks.
I know. It's ridiculous. So mid-round guys are the start of that.
It is. Yep.
Construction. You know what I mean? They're the foundation. You know, your draft is your foundation, and then you use the rest of the crap to build the rest of the house. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So let's start with our top 5 mid-round targets. This is 5 through 9, rounds 5 through 9. So let's get started. Number 1 on our list, Kenny Golladay.
Kenny Golladay. Dude.
Drinking from a fire hose today.
It's
so much information. I'm not.
I know. With the Lions, we both are so scared of their offense, yet love their skill players.
Yeah, it's so true. I was having a hard time with Kenny Golladay on this list. And the reason why he's on it is because of his upside.
Right, which is massive. Because he's the number 1 wide receiver on that team. And you know what? Honestly, so if you're a defense on an NFL team, you're probably trying to stop Kerryon Johnson. Who are you focusing on?
Yeah, I would say
most.
Kerryon.
I think most teams, maybe not all, but I think most teams would probably focus on Kerryon. Yeah. The Hawk, baby. Which would open things up for Kenny Golladay. He's going to be the number 1 receiver on that team. And he's going to get a lot of
And you still have Marvin Jones there, which I think a lot of people... In real life NFL, that's a guy that you got to consider stopping too.
Right, and that's going to help Kenny Golladay. Because chances are...
Galloway.
Bro, it don't matter.
He's like, it don't matter.
I think a lot of teams are... Chances are, actually, I think teams could put their number 1 corner, if they're playing man, against Marvin Jones.
Yeah.
And leave Kenny...
I agree.
Kenny Golladay as the second option, which would open things up a lot for him. But I still think he will be the number 1 receiver in that offense. And even though Kerryon Johnson and the team is going to run the ball a lot, and they're going to run the ball at Kerryon Johnson and who's it, C.J. Anderson as well, I think Matt Stafford is still going to throw the ball a lot. Typically he does, and typically Matt Stafford, who I think had one of his worst years of his career last year, I don't see him repeating that.
No, he shouldn't.
And chances are he's going to be Matt Stafford from 2 years ago, which is a top 12 quarterback in the league, top 15 quarterback in the league, which statistically speaking, and he throws a lot of yards. So I think it all kind of lines up for Kenny Golladay to have a good season.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's difficult when you're getting... So there are so many. I told you there was 21 players on my list.
Yeah,
and there are so many wide receivers that go in the middle rounds, and I don't want to go on a tangent about how you should draft, but there's a good, like, if you were a zero running back strategy guy in a full PPR, that might work, but in half PPR and standard, that don't work. And the reason why it don't work is because there is so little running backs that can be successful in this league that you have to draft them early. Like, you're not going to get away with drafting a guy late, and like
most of the time
that's going to happen. But the wide receiver position in the middle rounds is so deep. It's crazy.
Really is.
So Kenny Golladay is to me, he's one of the guys that tops, like, Julian Edelman and Kenny Golladay top the list in terms, and we'll talk about Julian later, but they top the list in terms of wide receivers in the middle rounds for me. I think Kenny Golladay has the ability to ascend into that, because for half the season they had, what's his name? Golden Tate. And Kenny Golladay was still playing extremely well.
Yeah, he was doing very good
at that point. I don't know what happened to him, after this point, because he had some really...
Their whole offense kind of fell apart, though, too.
From week 10 to week 16, I believe he was a mid-range to high-end wide receiver, too. And then from weeks 1 through 5, he was number 13. And then weeks 10 through 17, I'll just pull that up really fast. 10 through 17, he was a wide receiver 2, I believe. He was, wide receiver 18. So
is this what
this was
format?
Half PPR.
Okay.
So I think Kenny Golladay, he had Marvin Jones. He had an offense that was trying to figure it out. He was in a new system. He was in a new situation, and I think this year is his second year to ascend into a wide receiver 1. Like, I think he has, among the wide receivers that I listed on my mid-round targets, those 21 guys, I think he has probably the biggest upside in terms of being a wide receiver.
Out of everybody for receivers you're going to draft from rounds 5 through 9, how many of them are going to be wide receiver 1s on their team?
Not many.
And the ones that are, then rank the quarterbacks.
Yeah, there's a couple of guys, rank the quarterback.
Right.
That's a great point.
And I think Matt Stafford would probably be higher on that list than some of the other guys that might be a number 1 wide receiver on the team.
Right. And so, I mean, the concerning part is the trashness. Can I use that phrase, trashness? is how bad the Lions offense was last year. Like, Kenny Golladay can make up. Kerryon Johnson can make up for a bad offense with his running style and the way he's utilized.
Right.
But Kenny Golladay literally relies on good offense to be a success. Name a top 10 wide receiver that's on a bad team.
You can't. I mean, even the ones that are on bad teams have decent offenses. Like, you could say Mike Evans, but Mike Evans in the Buccaneers offense, at least fantasy-wise, was fantastic.
Do you want me to give you the top 10 in half PPR last year?
Sure.
Tyreek Hill, fantastic offense.
Yep.
Hopkins, fantastic offense.
Yep.
Adams, Aaron Rodgers. No, well, I mean, the offense wasn't bad last year.
It wasn't awful.
Yeah, but anyway, Adams has Aaron Rodgers, so that's a moot point. Antonio Brown, good offense. Mm-hmm. Julio Jones, good offense. Michael Thomas, good offense. Adam Thielen, decent offense. He's an exception to the rule. Juju, good offense. Mike Evans, exception to the rule. Robert Woods and Stefon Diggs. So it's interesting to see.
Most of them at least have decent offenses, though. There's no
Yeah, right. Like, even the Vikings. The people would make an argument on the Vikings, but I still think Kirk Cousins is a good quarterback. Can Matt Stafford be a good quarterback again? That's the question.
Yes, and I believe he can be.
Okay.
And if you're one of the people that believe he can be, then you should draft Kenny Golladay.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think the upside is just so high for me. Is that if you have you're in the second round or something like that, you get your running back in the first round, and then you go to the second round and you get a wide receiver or something like that. I'm not generally one to go based on your draft room is playing. You shouldn't plan like this, but if you get into that position where you have a really good wide receiver 1 on your team, Kenny Golladay is a perfect wide receiver too.
Yeah.
Because he has that upside to be a wide receiver 1. So if he ascends into wide receiver 1 next year,
then you're golden.
Then you're golden. You have 2 wide receiver 1s on your team. If he doesn't work out,
you
then
still have
a plethora of wide receivers to choose from.
Right.
Hopefully you drafted some other guys, and
if you didn't and you drafted
hoping that they break out, yeah.
Kenny Golladay in that spot, expecting him to be your receiver 2 and he flakes out. Going by that strategy, at least you would have a really solid wide receiver 1, and if you drafted well, like you were saying, the rest of the draft, you'll be fine because your bench will be good enough to go trade for wide receiver 2, or maybe even slot somebody in there.
Let's talk about our number 2 guy, Kenyon Drake. Now, he was one of my bold predictions.
What was your bold prediction?
My bold prediction that Kenyon Drake was going to be a low-end RB1.
You want to take that back?
No. I kind of almost took it back a couple weeks ago, but I'm not going to take it back. I really, really believe in Kenyon Drake this year. I'm not buying into the Kalen Ballage hype. I'm not buying into the Kalen Ballage hype train. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's not like
I think he's okay.
I think a lot of people are the Twitterverse is freaking. Kalen Ballage was a 12th round pick. Now he's like a 8th or 9th round.
Is
pick.
he really going in the 8th or 9th round?
He is literally getting hyped up so much. Kenyon Drake, we talked about earlier, he did have an injury. He is expected to play week 1, so I wouldn't be concerned about that. In his first preseason drive, he had 6 or 7 of the first team snaps, and they were only on for like 1 drive. So Kenyon Drake was the guy on the field for God knows how many. I mean, God knows how many drives. I think it was 1 or 2 drives. So to me, they're going to use Kenyon Drake as a workhorse. Last year, he had 53 receptions for 475 yards. It is not unlikely that he could hit 60 receptions this year for 500 plus yards, right? Last year he had, because Adam Gase is an idiot, and he had Frank Gore run for 2 yards a carry every single down for 250 times. Kenyon Drake, I think he averaged 4.6, 4.5 yards a carry last year. He only had 120 carries last year. That's the separation between Kenyon Drake being RB14 in PPR and RB17 in half PPR, and him being 9, 8, 7 in half PPR and full PPR leagues.
Right.
So for me, Kenyon Drake, and especially because he was seen in a walking boot, Kalen Ballage hype is really high. Like, for me, Kenyon Drake now went from a 5th round. I wasn't going to draft him in the 5th round because I was like, that's too early. I can't rely on it.
For me too, yeah.
Now he's moved into the 7th or 8th round, and it's becoming
fantastic value.
It's fantastic value. You're going to get, I think I calculated it today. In sleeper and half PPR settings, he's going as the 32nd running back off the board. You're telling me the number 17 running back in half PPR is going as the 32nd running back off the board in an offense where he's probably going to get more opportunity? Like, why are you fading Kenyon Drake?
The injury, probably, and Ballage, but that's it.
But I think the upside's there. Even if he missed like the first week of the season, the upside is there for this guy. So I think he can be an RB1 this year. I think he can ascend into that. It's a bold prediction because
I get the logic behind it though.
It's not something that's normally going to happen. But I think last year you saw Joe Mixon go in the 5th, 6th, and 7th rounds, and I think Kenyon Drake can be the Joe Mixon of this year, finishing 8 or 9.
Is that offense good enough for him to be a top?
I don't know yet. It depends on how bad Ryan Fitzpatrick plays, or Josh Rosen.
Whoever they go with.
Like, I think Albert Wilson's good. I think Devontae Parker's good. I think Kenny Stills is good. Their wide receiver core is good. Making faces. I'm talking. See, you gotta disconnect it from like fantasy.
No, I know. They're okay.
Talent wise,
okay.
The wide receiver core.
They're okay.
Alrighty.
They're all right.
I don't disagree with you. The offense is not good, but I think, like I said, running backs control the fate a little bit more. But as a what is it, 7th, 8th round draft choice, it's perfect. I think it's a perfect value.
Okay. I know. I don't disagree with that. Kenyon Drake has a lot of upside. He, as you said, is going to be the number 1 RB. Like Kalen Ballage. Let's calm down a little bit.
If Kalen Ballage ends up being the RB1, I will eat my shorts.
I'm gonna remember you saying that just in case.
He might actually do that. I don't.
And you'll have to eat your.
Can I take that?
What's
back?
up, guys? I'm eating my shorts live on the podcast because I.
Back in not back in January, forward in January.
Yes.
We're doing a show where I'm just like eating all my takes.
We actually should do that.
We will. We will do an entire show about our bad takes.
Yes. But I'll quickly say what Kenyon Drake, because you kind of touched on a lot of good points.
Yep.
One thing that I will say, especially for him, he's going right now back end of the 8th round. The running backs that are going in that area are really not that good. Like Kenyon Drake or Darius Geis.
Kenyon Drake.
Royce Freeman or Kenyon Drake.
Kenyon Drake.
You love Royce.
I love my boy Royce Freeman.
Latavius Murray is going ahead of Kenyon Drake right now.
I will take Kenyon Drake.
We're going a full round higher right now. Austin Eckler or Kenyon Drake.
Kenyon Drake.
Lamar Miller or Kenyon Drake.
Kenyon Drake.
Tariq Cohen or Kenyon Drake.
Yes.
That's close.
Even.
Okay. Miles Sanders or Kenyon Drake.
You know what? I'll go back one and I'll say Kenyon Drake just because of upside. I think they can end at this. I think they'll both land in the same spot RB2 wise. What was this? Was
Miles Sanders or Kenyon Drake?
Kenyon Drake.
Tevin Coleman or Kenyon Drake?
Tevin Coleman.
Oh, really? You've changed your opinion on that?
Yeah, Tevin. Well, the 49ers also lost a bunch of.
That's true. James White or Kenyon Drake?
I'm going to take Kenyon Drake.
Okay. So, I mean, you took them. Those were 6th round running backs right there.
Yeah. Yep.
6th and 7th rounders.
Tells you how much I like Kenyon Drake. I was contemplating taking him in the 5th or 6th round when he was there. Mm-hmm. But now that he's a 7th or 8th rounder, it's not even like consideration at this point. If there's other guys there that fell, I'll probably take them over him. It just depends on the draft works out.
Right.
But Kenyon Drake, I mean, he's a great value. He's in my mocks. He's a guy that I've been going after. In my best ball drafts, he's a guy that I've been going after. I love Kenyon Drake this year.
You know what we should do?
What?
We should steal the Walmart logo, which says great value.
Yep.
And place it on all of our fantasy takes. This is why we want to draft.
Great value.
Great value.
In the draft kit 2020.
Yes, honestly.
Number 3 on our list, Mark Ingram. Mark Ingram was a guy I faded. I'm going to be honest with you. I started fading on Mark Ingram.
I never faded
and it was because of my hatred, okay? He burned me. And I don't know why I say he burned me, because I didn't really take a lot to get him. I traded Le'Veon Bell for him, so it didn't really take – I took a running back that didn't play last year.
You expected him to be something he wasn't.
What happened was I had Zeke, Kareem Hunt, and then Mark Ingram was my flex. And then Kareem Hunt, obviously the whole situation happened. They cut him. He was suspended, whatever. And then I had to move Mark Ingram into my number 2 running back slot. And that didn't end up working out too well. He didn't have a great season last year. In his career, he's a career high-end RB2 is essentially what Mark Ingram is. Mm-hmm. For me, I think there is a great value in Mark Ingram.
Hey.
And I think in the 5th round right now, Mark Ingram is a perfect value for people. Mm-hmm. Not only is Mark Ingram, he doesn't have to deal with the Alvin Kamara.
No.
I was thinking about this earlier today. Complete side note. Wouldn't it be ironic if Justice Hill turned into like Alvin Kamara and stole his job again?
That'd be actually sad.
That would be like just full. I actually didn't like him going to the Baltimore Ravens initially. So to break it down, at the end of the season, I was kind of mad. I was like, Mark Ingram, you did me wrong. And then as the offseason progressed, I was like, oh, maybe I like him, maybe I don't like him. He's a 5th, 6th round pick. He's kind of stayed there the entire offseason.
He hasn't moved.
And then he signed with Baltimore, and I thought he was going to get a bump, but he didn't get a bump. They drafted Justice Hill in the 4th round. They have Gus Edwards, Kenneth Dixon. One of those 2 guys isn't going to make the team. And then they even got a 5th running back on the squad who's specifically just for special teams. So it's
they have a 6th if you include Lamar Jackson.
Oh yeah, 6th if you include Lamar Jackson, bro. You just totally.
My headset just crashed.
Yeah, there you go. So anyway, Mark Ingram. What was I saying?
How they have 6 running backs.
Oh yeah. How they say. So the workload was kind of making me nervous, and all of the stuff that was happening situationally with Mark Ingram, it kind of made me nervous. But as we approach the season, it looks like Gus Edwards is going to be a grinder, a guy to throw out there every once in a while to relieve Mark Ingram of his stress. And Justice Hill may be a 3rd down pass catching back. That's kind of what it looks like they're going to do with their team. When I looked at and saw what they did with Mark Ingram on first team reps in the first preseason game that he played, Mark Ingram looked really good, and he was out there for majority of the time. A lot of people believe that he can be an RB1 this year, but the concern with Mark Ingram is simple. How many times is he going to rush the ball in the red zone? Because that was his problem with the Saints. They gave it to Kamara. Every time they got in the red zone, they gave it to Kamara.
Give it to the Gus Bus?
Not even the Gus Bus. People are more concerned that Lamar Jackson will drop back and run it into the end zone over him. Like they'll do a zone read. I mean, they'll do a what do they call it? Read option and give it to Lamar Jackson for the touchdown. I mean, we saw it in the preseason game. The play didn't count, but I don't know if you saw the highlight.
Yeah,
Lamar Jackson juking two guys.
Great run.
18 yards out. Yeah, great run. But Mark Ingram, does that affect his value at all? Touchdowns are king in fantasy football. You don't get the touchdowns.
I think he'll still get enough touchdowns where it'll be okay. For me,
under 10.
That's tough because that's like around where I'd probably say he'd get. I'll go over.
Okay. See, that's where I was kind of at.
But around 10 I think is appropriate. So here's why I like Mark Ingram. I think he is going in he's fifth round right now, middle of the fifth round. So it is good value for me because I think
great value.
Oh, there it is. It's great value. Brought to you. This podcast is not brought to you by Walmart. It is a
I'm just going to snag if Walmart used that at any time in like a vocal reference. I'm just going to throw that in
like a really cheesy,
throw it in the drop.
Great value.
Great value.
But
Kenny Galladay is a
Mark Ingram, so he's going in the middle of the fifth round. And I think he's going to be I don't want to say workhorse because you mentioned 3 or 4 guys on their team.
Okay.
But here's why it doesn't affect me, or it shouldn't affect me. And it shouldn't affect you drafting Mark Ingram. How many rushing attempts did the Ravens have in 2018?
I think it was around 450.
547.
Wow.
How many do you think Mark Ingram's going to get?
I would say 250 with like 40 catches.
I don't disagree with you, and if that happens, to me, he's probably a top
7, 8 back.
I was going to say top 10, yeah. And that's very likely to happen.
I like to put people at 7 or 8.
Yeah, you do. Why is that?
I don't know. I see the top 6 in my mind, and I'm like, okay. I agree. That's the thing that I've been looking at more recently. Because, like I said, Mark Ingram signed with Baltimore. I was nervous about the workload, and I've been nervous about the workload for quite some time. When I heard they were going to cut one of the Gus Bus or Kenneth Dixon, I kind of looked at it, and I was like, okay, Justice Hill is going to be the second, maybe the third running back on the roster. I think he'll probably be like
a third down back type player.
Gus Edwards is going to come in for relief. Right. And the amount that they ran the ball last year, even if that decreases to like 475 to 500, I can't really see a world where Mark Ingram doesn't, unless he gets hurt, that he doesn't get 250 carries. Or if Justice Hill turns into be the next Alvin Kamara.
Correct.
So, which is highly...
Lamar Jackson would have to have like...
I know the truthers are out and, they're rioting uniforms on, Justice Hill, but it's preseason, so relax. What was it?
I think he's going to be okay. Actually. I think he's a good complementary piece. But I don't think he's going to be.
If you watched any of the preseason games with Justice Hill, you will know that the guy's talented.
Right.
But I talked about this before last year, right at the beginning of our podcast. I talked about if Mark Ingram got his shot, he could be an RB1. He was an RB1 2 years ago with Alvin Kamara on his team.
That was a crazy year.
That was a crazy year. But you're telling me that if Mark Ingram touches the ball 285 to 290 times, that he can't ascend into at least an RB10?
It's possible. It's very possible. I love Ingram. If you're sitting there in the middle of the fifth round, and he's on the board, take him.
Take him. He's a perfect flex. I'm telling you right now, like as a 5th round pick, if you need a flex, don't waste your time on another wide receiver. Draft Mark Ingram. Save money. Live better, Mark Ingram.
Great value.
Great value. Number 4 on our list, Julian Edelman, our last skill player. And then we go to the one quarterback that you desperately wanted to put on this list.
I wanted one quarterback.
Stay tuned for the one quarterback. Julian Edelman is on this list. New England Patriots wide receiver. A lot of people have been concerned about his broken hand. Don't be. There is no way in hell that Tom Brady can throw it to James White as much as he did last year. And I could be very wrong about that, but I expect a regression in the amount of targets that James White got last year.
Yeah.
Where are those targets going to go?
Where?
Julian Edelman.
Oh.
Julian Edelman, over the last, I think he had a 4-game suspension for using the PEDs. So from week 5 to week 17, our friend Julian Edelman was 9th in fantasy. I like to call, everyone wants, here's what I'll say. Everyone wants the sexy pick. Everyone wants the Juju Smith-Schusters of the world. They want the fun. Brown. They want the Julio Joneses and the Hopkins and the Browns and the Mike Evans and the Keenan Allens, right? Julian Edelman is on a team that's won 6 Super Bowls and that has a 41-year-old quarterback playing for them, and they hate the Patriots. Julian Edelman is not a sexy pick. He gets 14 fantasy points in a half PPR setting every time he steps on the field.
That is ridiculous. That is insane. He gets.
I'm literally gonna pull up the week to week.
He's a guaranteed 7 catches a game.
Wide receiver 2. Wide receiver
7 to 10 catches.
Talking to my microphone.
Easily. Julian Edelman is one of the most, like, if you draft him, you know he's gonna be good. His floor is so high, meaning it's very difficult for him to be bad. The only thing that would cause him to have a very poor season, I think, is either N'Keal Harry gets 100 targets, or Tom Brady really falls off a cliff, or Julian Edelman gets hurt.
Yeah. You want me to give weeks 5 to 17? You want me to give you his weekly performances?
Sure.
In full PPR, he had 12, which is number 30, finished that week. After that, 16, which was a wide receiver 2, 14, wide receiver 2, 20 fantasy points, wide receiver 12, 17 fantasy points, wide receiver 12, 19 fantasy points, wide receiver 13, 18 fantasy points, wide receiver 17, 9 fantasy points against the Minnesota Vikings, one of the best defenses in the NFL, 47 in fantasy, 47th. I think it was that's a wide receiver 5, I believe. 23 the following week, wide receiver 7, 16 the following week after that, wide receiver 12. 19 fantasy points. He was a wide receiver 2 then, and then he had 20 fantasy points week 17, and that was also a wide receiver 2 performance. So he was finishing as a wide receiver 1 or a wide receiver 2 basically 80-something% of his games last year.
That is insane.
So you're telling me that this is not a
week in and
great
week
value?
Out. It is. I mean, week in and week out, Julian Edelman will get you what you need to do to win on a weekly basis.
It's true.
He's a perfect complementary piece, which is exactly, not all the time, but depending if you're trying to like draft for a trade. But if you're drafting for someone on your team, he's a perfect complementary piece to whoever you draft in the first 3 rounds. And 4 rounds.
So for people concerned about what you just said, the quarterback situation, the Tom Brady not being
Brady off a cliff
situation. Brady has gotten faster. He's thrown the ball the hardest he's ever thrown it.
Are you saying he's going to be?
I'm not saying he's going to decline.
Okay.
Max Kellerman. And like when you see this type of like he's in shape, he's ready to go, there's no reason to believe that Tom Brady can't do it. Like when Peyton Manning was done, he was throwing ducks for like 2 seasons. He was throwing balls like up in the air and hoping somebody caught them. And like his shoulder looked like garbage.
Brady, I don't think is the same quarterback he was.
He's not the same quarterback that he was 2 or 3 years ago, but he's still got the same.
Still very good.
He's still got the same zip on the ball. He's still got that same connection to Julian Edelman. Julian Edelman is as safe a pick as you can get. Now, what round is he going in?
5th, I think.
Because if you can get him in the 6th round safely.
Oh yeah, especially I think full PPR he's probably going even higher.
But he's the perfect in the 2nd round, like I said, you draft your wide receiver 1, you get Juju or something, and then you want to go running back. You get 2 running backs in 2 straight rounds, get good values on those guys, and then you get to the 5th round, and you need your wide receiver 2.
Yep.
Julian Edelman's literally perfect.
He is.
Like, if you draft Tyreek Hill, we talk about the inconsistency of Tyreek Hill. Julian makes up for that.
He'd be a perfect fit if you draft Tyreek Hill.
With Tyreek Hill. Yeah, I'm not.
Because 1 week
we're
Tyreek
over here
Hill's
stacking wide receivers, but
1 week, one week Tyreek Hill will get you 30 points.
Yeah.
The next week he's going to get you 6, and that week he gets you 6. You know you're going to get at least like 10 to 15 points from your receiver because of Julian Edelman.
What we're telling you is to draft Julian Edelman is what we're saying essentially. Yeah. Number 5 on our list, final guy, the guy you've been waiting for. I teased you like 2 minutes ago. Deshaun Watson, quarterback value. You could really say Andrew Luck or Aaron Rodgers either. Like
you could. There's honestly,
either one of these guys. You could kind of.
Here's why I say targets for these guys. I picked Deshaun Watson because I think he's going to be the best. I think there's a really good chance Deshaun Watson is the best fantasy quarterback this year. To me, these guys are falling right now. In a lot of drafts, I don't know. It's not just our league because I'll join a lot of like random drafts, and I guarantee you in the draft or the league that you're in, there's going to be one or two guys that go insane and they're going to draft a quarterback early.
Yeah.
They're going to take Aaron Rodgers in the third round. They're going to take Patrick Mahomes in the second or first round. That means guys like Deshaun Watson,
right,
and even like Andrew Luck is falling right now, but I'll just leave it to Deshaun Watson since we chose him. A guy like Deshaun Watson might fall. If he falls in those rounds, I'm not always on board to take a quarterback early. We're both on this boat.
Yeah.
But if a quarterback like that
falls to 6th or 7th,
is falling in the 6th, 7th round, which
I will never draft a quarterback in the 6th round.
If Deshaun Watson is in the 6th round, you're not taking him?
No.
You're a madman. 7th round?
Yes.
Okay.
I would consider it.
I've done 3 mock drafts this week. In all 3 mock drafts, Aaron Rodgers or Deshaun Watson was available in the 7th round.
Wow.
If that is the case in your draft, and you're using our strategy.
Great value.
First 6 rounds, you've taken running backs and receivers.
Yep.
You already have 3 running backs, you have 3 receivers, or 4 running backs, or whatever. But you have your core. I don't mind taking Deshaun Watson in that spot, especially because I think it's going to be him and Mahomes, in my opinion, as the 2 best quarterbacks in fantasy this year. And I don't think Deshaun Watson is very far off from Patrick Mahomes. Just Will Fuller is back fully healthy. DeAndre Hopkins is as good as he's ever been. That team offensively is a juggernaut.
Yeah. I think Deshaun Watson as well. He's number 1 on my rankings. More recently, because of the Andrew Luck injury to his ankle, I moved him down to 3. Rodgers stayed at 4. Mahomes went to 2, and Deshaun Watson is now number
Mahomes
1.
Isn't 4 anymore?
Yeah, no, he's not. Well, he was at 4. I moved him up to 3. Now he's 2. So, Deshaun Watson, though, he's number 1 on my rankings, and it's because, like you said, I believe that he can be the number 1 fantasy quarterback this year, and at a 7th round value, that's perfect. It's literally perfect. He can rush the ball. He can pass it for 4,000 yards. He literally is the epitome of what you want as a fantasy quarterback, a guy who can rush it for 700, 600 yards and get 3 or 4 touchdowns, as well as throw for 30-plus touchdowns and 4,000 yards. Like, literally, that's what you want from your quarterback.
Right.
And that's what you're getting from Watson. And I think Watson, if he does that, he's going to be a high-end quarterback. Like, he's automatically, to me, a third-round quarterback, top 3 quarterback.
Yep.
And so I think a guy going off the board as the 3rd, 4th, or 5th quarterback is perfect. It's a great value. We keep saying that phrase.
It's a great value.
But I think I love Watson, especially this year. And I talked about him months ago. Like, when we started having these discussions in February and in March, I talked about how much I loved Deshaun Watson. And I thought he was going to be not a breakout guy this year, but a top 3 quarterback.
Yeah.
And
he's climbed every year.
He's ascended into that number 1 spot. If he stays healthy, he can and will be that guy. And I think that there's not much stopping him. I really love Deshaun Watson. Now, I do want to note something really fast because we've got to wrap up the show and all that stuff. But unless you have any more thoughts on Deshaun Watson.
I just love him. Thanks.
Okay. So if you don't end up with a Rodgers, a Luck, or a Watson, or even like I did a mock the other day and a guy that I've been getting, with when I have the 6th or 7th overall pick, I've been getting Cam Newton a lot. And when I land Cam Newton, I feel good. But the other day, somebody took him far too early. Okay. And I ended up having to take somebody else. Don't panic if your quarterback is not on the board. I think a lot of people go, oh, my God, Deshaun Watson got picked in the 6th round. What do I do now? And then they go out and they reach for a quarterback.
Yep. And then the next person reaches for a quarterback.
Yeah, and then you start a freaking run on quarterbacks and ruin everyone's life.
If they make the run on quarterbacks and overvalue them, you know what that means?
They're having a bad draft.
They are, but that means a guy like Mark Ingram that we just talked about is available in the 6th round because everybody, or 7th round because everybody took quarterbacks.
I think
take advantage.
You got to take advantage of it, and I think for me, I think if you don't get, like you said, this goes for any guy. If you don't get your guy, don't panic. Make a smart pick. Simple as that. Like,
Don't get your guy. Don't panic. Make a smart pick.
Boom. Great value.
It's great value.
That'll do it for our top 5 mid-round targets. Be sure to listen on Thursday as we do our 4th mock draft of 5. 4 or 5.
It's mock draft season.
We're almost done with mock drafts.
Whoa.
We're going to give you one more mock draft before September 30th. It'll be our 5th mock. September. I keep saying September. I'm in September. August 30th.
Yep.
August 29th is our last mock draft. Next week, this Thursday, though, is our 4th mock draft of the year. Be sure to listen. Don't forget to check out our website at thefantasychampions.com.
Some great articles there.
Some great articles. Great content. See you Thursday. What even day is it? See you Thursday.
See you Thursday.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Champions Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on iTunes and YouTube and follow us on Twitter at TheFFChamps.